Hello everybody, time for another video. Sorry that it took me so long, but I was busy working on MEGA65 tools, trying to make a regression test facility so new cores can be automatically tested against all known problems. So we don't get another core with broken attic RAM interface or something like that. While doing this, I was also working on the auto detection of USB devices, because the regression test machine will have multiple platforms attached to, so the core can be tested against all of them. And ideally, I want this to happen automatically. And while doing this, you might sense a pattern here. I also started to make this work on those other MEGA65 tools platforms we support, Windows and macOS. To be able to test this, I decided to get my VirtualBox Windows ready as a testbed. Oh boy, I bet I should not have done this. But in the end, I can now tell the Windows users out there how to get the new M65 tool running with auto detection working. Let's switch to the VM. So what you want to do is you want to install FTDI drivers for the serial port, and you want for the second interface, because each JTAG interface has two actual USB devices, for that you want the WinUSB driver. How do you do that? First, I have here a tutorial from last year, which Amok wrote. And in this tutorial there is a link to the FTDI driver that works for me. There is a newer one. The newer one does not work for me. So I recommend using this one. Feel free to try out the other one. I had no luck because I don't know, perhaps it's the virtual machine I'm running here. Perhaps it's something else. So you want this setup for the FTDI driver, and you want to install the FTDI driver. So let's do this. And it tells me ready to use. Okay, so now we need the USB devices. I have a Nexus board and I have a MEGA65. I connect them both and then they will show up here. The two composite devices are essentially the internal hub of the JTAG interface. And then there are two serial ports. Oh, they show up directly. That's good. Let us see if the driver is good. And you want to see that the FTDI driver with the version we just installed shows up for the serial port. And it should do that for both serial ports. So you can see it is both FTDI and 21228 as the version. That's good. And you have those four devices here. Two of those are the serial ports we see here, and two of those are the other device the FTDI interface, the JTAG interface has. So those two we want to have the WinUSB driver, not the FTDI driver. For this I use the SADIC tool, which is normally used to install the libUSB drivers. But you don't want the libUSB drivers. I repeat, you don't want the libUSB drivers. So download this tool, and it's an exe, and you can start it. Need to give it access. Yeah, trust, I know. And in the tool, you should tell it to list all devices. Then you will see your JTAG interface with an interface 0 and an interface 1. And I have two of both because I have two devices connected. And then you want to change the driver for interface 0, not 1. You want to change interface 0. So I select interface 0, and you can see it tells me the current driver is the FTDI driver installed. And then here it tells me the target driver. And yes, you want this WinUSB driver. So I click on replace driver. This will take a little while. And then we will see something is changing. The serial converter A disappeared, and instead of this we see the diligent USB device here. This is what we want. We want the two COM ports, USB serial COM ports, and we want the two vigilant USB devices. Okay, that's wrong. You want only one if you only have one MEGA65 or Nexus board or whatever. So you want one serial port and one vigilant USB device or whatever your JTAG is called. So perhaps it's an Arrow with an adapter Paul built. So that's also cool, and then there will be Arrow listed here. So now we can see that it actually changed both of the interfaces 0. So you don't need to do this for both, only one if you have multiple devices, that is. And then it looks good. So let us check again about the versions. Right version, okay. So if you got the wrong version here, you can try to uninstall the device and make sure to delete the driver software for this device and then press on uninstall. And this one, driver, it's libwdi, WDI, libwdi, and a very long version string. That's okay, we want that, okay. So now we can try out M65 exe. But you will need the latest M65 exe to do that. And that you can find on the GitHub under the tag CI refactor latest. And there you can download the latest version with the features we need for the test. Let me start up a PowerShell. So, and then I need to go to my test environment. Here I have some files ready to try out, the latest M65 exe and some bit streams and the program. I recommend that one. Take a look at it if you have a MEGA65. So what do we try out? We write M65 exe, and then we use the autodiscover feature, and we let us give verbose output. So currently my two devices that are connected are powered off. So if I start this, it first tells us that it uses FPGA ID all F, which is a wildcard. Then in the next two lines, it detects the two COM ports, COM11 and COM13, and lists the serial numbers it found. Next, it will scan the USB bus, and here it again finds some devices and matches the serial numbers to those it found for the COM ports. So the part with the COM port detection is done by a PowerShell script, essentially. And this part here is the libUSB stuff. It then gets ID codes, which it wants to match to the wildcard above, but it gets weird codes, and this weird codes tells it that the device is disabled and we should power it on. And it does tell us so for the other device too. And as such, it won't select any device because they are not powered on, so it makes no sense talking to them. So let's power on the MEGA65 and the Nexus board and try again. And you can see now it gets ID codes. And it tells us for both ID codes that they match the FFFF, because it's the wildcard, as I told you before. And because of that, it lists those devices as valid devices it can use, and then selects COM11. And it does so because it just, if it has no information to go on, it will just select the last COM port it found. So if you do the autodiscover without the verbose, you will only get this output, which is neat and tidy and has all the information you need. The COM ports it has detected and the device it selects. So if we now want to get it a bit more intelligent, we need to provide it with some information. So if we give it the Nexus bit stream and tell it to flash the bit stream, then again we do verbose to see more, then it will use this information. So here you can see it scans the bit stream for the FPGA ID and it detects the FPGA ID with the 1093 in the end. And then in the detection part you can see now it matches the ID code, and for the other device it does not match the ID code. And because of that it now selects device COM13, not COM11. Because it makes no sense to inject the Nexus bit stream to the MEGA65 R3 board. And then it sends it and everything works well. So, and then we do the same, but we now provide a MEGA65 bit stream, which should make it choose COM11 again. And we want to see what it does. And let's do something else. We can chain a command so that it first injects the bit stream, waits for it to boot, and then run a program. So we take the nice new demo here and let's see what happens. Oh, you need to see the MEGA65 screen for that. So let me start it. It will inject the bit stream, wait for the system to settle, and then upload the program and start it. And here it is, Nordlicht. So that's it for today. I hope I could help you with your Windows driver setup for the MEGA65 tools. Just make sure you got the right drivers and correct versions installed. Getting rid of the wrong drivers can be somewhat hard. At one time I even had to delete files in the Windows System 32 path. For Apple Mac OS, the auto detection does not work as nice as it does for Linux or Windows, because I don't know how to map the COM ports to the USB devices yet. If you have a Mac OS device and are willing to help, contact me on Discord. Have a nice day. Until next time. Bye.